again, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf here with Eric Sfiligoj. Yes, once more. And we'll be next week too, right?
Yeah, we will. Well, actually, only if we do it early. I actually have a road trip next week, Wednesday, when we normally do this. But
where are you going?
Going to be visiting with John Oster and our friends at Moral Companies. So
that's right.
Yes,
that should be fun.
Should be a nice.
Just happens to be the chairman of ARA.
Yeah, well,
at least for
a lucky coincidence. Yes.
So John's always an entertaining visit.
Yes.
So we should have fun there.
You were on a trip recently.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the segue.
No problem.
Always appreciate it. So yeah, it was just a quick, relatively speaking, quick trip to Denver. Actually, it was going to Denver and then coming back backtracking into western Nebraska, see the folks at Frenchman Valley. And talk to Jeff Wessel's out there and try to get a story about some of the things that he's doing with PrecisionAg. What's interesting is he's been messing around with this really since the very early stages. I mean, he dates back to the early variable rate chase in the late 90s, and then really all the way through to today. So he's kind of helping Frenchman Valley with their program and some of the philosophies he has and so forth. They're very interesting, and approaches to profit and service. So we'll get into those in the first issue of PrecisionAg Professional, which if you've gotten that magazine, is getting wrapped into CropLife starting next
we will
month.
Lovingly embrace it.
Or something like that. So we'll put the two together, and there'll be Jeff's going to be kind of the first I guess cover story, quote unquote, within the CropLife magazine issue. So
no, that would be very interesting.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then I got a chance to, I'd like to do side trips. I hate to do things just one off. So I went to see Neil Horam over at Nutrien.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any CPS signs. If Neil doesn't have any CPS signs, nobody does.
I guess maybe they all were destroyed in some bonfire.
He swears there wasn't an edict. But I talked to somebody else who said, they're probably just people just throwing them in storage, and they're going to bring them out in 10 years and sell them for like $300 at eBay or something like that.
See, that makes perfect sense to me.
So
collector's items. I like it. I like it.
So it's just an awful shame. I really wanted one. It doesn't look like I'm going to get one. I really want to hear one here for Christmas so we could unveil it.
You just need to stick around for 10 years and put your bid in on eBay like all the rest of us.
I suppose so. But we talked a little bit about technology. We talked about the PrecisionAg Vision Conference that we're working on and some of the things that are coming up for that. He's going to be attending. He's real excited about it, and so we're we just had kind of a nice wide-ranging discussion on technology. Nothing really crazy new, but just a lot of changes, and with all the challenges, especially in the Midwest, and with financially for farmers, so forth. With where we're going to be in precision, how good we're feeling about it going into next year is kind of an open question. But there's that. Also. Stopped and saw a couple of other just PrecisionAg experts had a quick dinner with and talked to a gentleman about hemp production in Colorado.
And I'm assuming you don't mean for rope.
I mean the good clean. I mean the good clean fun stuff. Not the. But that production's open up in Colorado now for industrial hemp, for oil, and and it's talking about. It was interesting. I hadn't really realized that the hemp production is some of the same equipment that you do in hemp is also what you use for tobacco, which is sort of like why you might have seen Mitch McConnell championing this, because so many former tobacco farms in Kentucky looking for other crops. Being able to switch to industrial hemp, again, the drying facilities that you need, it's very, very similar, and so you can make an old tobacco farm work as a hemp producing farm fairly easily. So there's always a road to these things, isn't there? It's always a political road that you find.
That's true. That's true. Well, those were your adventures. Mine, actually, I happened to be down in Jacksonville, Florida, with the folks at the Fertilizer Institute, who were holding their annual Outlook Conference. Paul, the two big tidbits that came out of that meeting is, number one, I know we were speculating that with the trade tariff situation between the U.S. and China, that soybean and corn acreage would change more in favor of corn, and that seems to be the projection. Looks like they're about 89 million acres apiece here in 2018, but going into next year, they're projecting corn to be about 92 million acres, and soybeans should drop to about 82 million. So big decline in soybean acreage going into 19. And the other big topic of conversation was water and agriculture. A lot of talk about the Lake Erie algae situation and the red tide in Florida. But the consensus seems to be that we won't get some type of a national legislation when it comes to water usage in agriculture, that it'll be more of a regional or state-by-state situation moving forward. However, it looks like Ohio and Florida are going to be two of the states that are going to be in the crosshairs when this stuff comes up over the next year or so.
Yeah, it's only going to get, I'm sure, more and more over time. I also talked to somebody about the cover crops,
Yes.
and got a sense that there's a really interesting program at Maryland, state of Maryland, where they're using funds range from consumers. I guess they call it a flush tax, which is basically water use tax. That
Gotcha.
Then that money is then used to subsidize the cover crops up to it gets almost to the point where the cover crop is paid for in terms of seed if you can prove you planted it, and then you go through a process of proving that you did what you did and that it was in a certain amount of time and so forth. So. It was interesting. It's something I think that's probably maybe replicatable in certain geographies where you've got the finances to do it. But again, it takes a commitment of capital to make something like that happen. It's probably not just going to happen just because the cost is fairly significant to get the cover crop in the ground. So something to look at in the future.
Yeah. And only one other thing to add, Paul, is sort of we found out kind of on the QT, if you will, that our friends at CHS have had a little bit of a financial problem in terms of, I guess, some employees overstated their numbers over the past couple of years regarding the rail contracts. And so they're trying to make an adjustment to their financial statements. And a couple of people have actually resigned from CHS in the meantime. But they're hoping to have a revised statement by the end of November here, Paul. So a little unfortunate news for our ag retail friends.
Yeah, well, get that worked out very soon. It's a lot of employees at stake, I'm sure.
Yep. So.
Well, thanks for joining us for this edition of CropLife Retail Week. Join us for, I'm sure, will be a special Thanksgiving edition next week. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.